Oh, folks, how y'all doing today? Oh, we're not too bad. We're just cruising along. We actually got some peas planted today. That was, small things, everything. Avalanches begin with a little pebble and all that, right? Yeah. So anyhow, there we were. We're looking around through the media, and most of it's just brain dead nonsense. And this is super brain dead stuff. Jeff Flake, you remember him, Senator Jeff Flake? Maybe you may not know who he is, but you could substitute any conservative or right-wing politician from your country. Like if you're in Australia and you have a right-wing party, substitute one of those dimwits. If you're in England, substitute Theresa May for this. It's all really functionally the same, right? So Jeff's on about we need to run people against Trump next time to prove what Republican values are so people will know. Well, really, I don't know, Jeffy. I'm going to say Senator Flake, you flaky idiot. The GOP has no values. The so-called conservatives in the West, they have no values, particularly the party conservatives, the GOP, the conservatives in England and so forth, the right-wing party in France and this and that, and Angela Merkel's conservatives, right? These people have conserved nothing. Their only loyalty, frankly, particularly the American GOP, Canadian conservatives are cucky like this too, have no loyalty to anything but money. That's tax cuts for the rich and limited government when it helps the rich. And they don't care about limited government. In reality, they only care about helping the rich because they'll get more money. They get donations, you see, for that. Yeah. Kind of like prostitutes do things for money. And then there's Zion. That's their other, you can't question Zion. You can't question, particularly in America, the commitment to Israel. We just all got to go out and die like, I don't know, some kind of peasants for our Lord. Now that seems to be about their only real values, right? Because they love to go on and on and on and on ad infinitum about the Constitution, but they don't care about the Constitution at all. And they don't. And what's even more absurd is they have this fetish for this relic, right? And that's exactly what it is, a paper relic. But the GOP has an absolute disdain, no, just a complete lack of any love at all for living white people, particularly white people under 50, 60,000 a year. They're just bums to the GOP, right? It should be noted that these people are by and large the descendants of the actual creators of the constitutional order that the GOP and conservatives like to exalt as though it's some great reality. Now, other than the constitutional relic, almost all of this can be translated to any Anglo country. In fact, most Western European countries, until you get to somewhere out in Russia, this applies, right? There's just this insane, we love our government, we're attached to democracy as some weird abstract, right? But they hate the demos, the people who allegedly have the arche in this system. Now, of course, the people have no arche. Arche means authority or power, and there's none. None. At most you vote for this or that or the other goon, Now, that's just a fact. And when it comes right down to it, the GOP's values, they're all an act. The fact is that today's conservatives are yesterday's liberals. The conservatives today in America fall in line with everything that liberals wanted in the 1980s. Free homosexuality, almost unlimited borders. We need to embrace the world, diversity, this, that, the whole, you name something. I mean, the GOP is so cucky that it promoted Martin Luther King as some hero among us because they had to take the Democrats' thunder and prove who was the real racists. Now, fact, folks, again, bottom line, this is all an act. The GOP, the Democrats fighting, that's a stage-managed act to keep you corralled into the two-party oligarchy that rules, frankly, not only the USA, but the entire Western world like a fief. Like a fief, They rule us like a fief. And any of this, the GOP's values, whatever. What it comes down to is people like Jeff Flake are upset that Trump hasn't really carried through on his populist program too much, but he's upset that the peasants want that populist program, and they're not interested in his limited government, my lower taxes, my Israel bullshit any longer, right? They want jobs, they want that damn border secured, and they want their lives to have some kind of meaning besides consuming useless shit, growing fat and dying, right? Now that's just the truth. So, all in all, I'm going to tell you point blank. Any talk of GOP values or conservative values, by and large, is a friggin' joke. Okay? Particularly the version of it that's fronted in the media, by academia, and by these politicians. Now, what your average people want out there, this is not the same as what the GOP wants. Pretending that because they share a word, conservative, in common, that they're equal, that's dumb nonsense. Because what your average GOP person out here wants is not to go and suck Israel's penis and waste all of our money on warmongering while we bankrupt ourselves at home. Okay? But that's what the GOP wants. This is, of course, because the GOP are traitors to white America, right? But unfortunately, to get your votes and keep eating off you, they have to pretend to care about white America at the same time. It creates sort of a massive cognitive dissonance amongst conservatives because rank and file GOP member type people understand that the party hates them. They understand this. If you don't, you're stupid by now, right? But they also pretend that they need this party because without it, the Democrats. Well, why not take over the GOP party and remake it in your own image, or destroy it and make a new party that serves white America against the colored hordes of the Democrats? Oh, racism. See, you're cucked to a word. Now, the fact is, again, the GOP are the dishonest version of the Democrats. The Democrats honestly serve diversity, Zion, money. Boom! I mean, they're right there for it, Okay? The GOP pretend to oppose this, but name one main thing that they've actually done to stop the browning of America, to stop the slide of American culture into a Semitic Middle Eastern cesspit, to stop the degradation of American morals down to the level of street whores. Go ahead. Name one thing. Nothing is what they've done, right? Particularly as a party. And that's because, the same New York money, the same Chicago money, the same Miami money, it pays for both parties, baby. Parties don't come cheap, So when it comes right down to it, the GOP as a whole has no vision of what they want for anything. All they do is what they need to do right this minute to ensure that their donors get the maximum from the government, because that's not big government, you see. When donors and big construction companies get contracts because they're hooked in with the senator, that's not big government. No. When your grandmother gets some Medicare and a check for some minimal amount of money, that's big government. Right. See, the trick is to ensure that the rich get as much out of the trough as they humanly can while the peasants are elbowed out. Right. Less for thee, more for he. Now, that's just a fact. That's how they are. For instance, when was the last time you actually saw the GOP say, hey, maybe we're broke and we should stop this warmongering for Israel in the Middle East? Oh, excuse me, don't even say that. Why don't we stop the warmongering for freedom in the Middle East, yeah? No, they never will. They would take your food, leave you homeless, do anything they have to, literally shut down every public school in America if that's what was necessary to defend the West Bank and Gaza. You better believe that, right? So, any gibberish that the GOP will mouth out of the front of their face, about making America great, that's a fantasy. They don't care about America because they don't even understand America as anything but an area in which you do business and maximize profit. They don't think of America as a living nation of, distinct peoples no. And they definitely don't think of America as white America, as something like what John Jay, one of the first Supreme Court judges, who said that he was grateful that we had a common people, a common language, a common way of life, that we are homogeneous, I don't think of that at all, because that's racist, you see, because that would get in the way of profit. Homogeneous people don't care what the market wants. They serve their people's best ends. And they hate that. They hate white America. They hate the idea of a unified white America that works for whites. And because that's frankly, the GOP, just like the Democrats, want to replace the white with cheap colored labor. So they not only can balkanize the whites, but so they can run you down to the level of, oh, that's right, Eastern European peasants. That's their exact goal. Punk you and enslave you. Except for one does it under the guise of Constitution and the other one does it under the guise of progressivism. But they're all the same. They get you to the same place. Thus, in sum, the GOP and their oligarchy that really fronts, that pays the GOP's way, they do not place America first. And because, again, Only Israel can have the pole position among them. If any other country is first, that's anti-Semitism. Have you noticed how America first itself is attacked as an anti-Semitic phrase, even though it doesn't imply anything but placing our own country first, or Britain first, or France first? Always is attacked as racist, xenophobic, and anti-Semitic. It's almost like these politicians have a master, and it's not you. Now, in point of fact, in America at least, the GOP are far more servile to the goblin Hebrew tribe than the Dems. Okay? You see, the GOP are almost all white males, and they're terrified of being called a racist. And the females among the GOP, well, females are very, how should we put this? They go along to get along. And since Israel is the price, that's what they do. That's what they do. Now, is that rude? Is it crude? It's sad and it's true. Okay? So any lies that you're going to hear from the GOP establishment about how we're going to be great, we're going to put America first, all this is purely a con that the GOP establishment mouths. They don't mean, they mouth to garner votes when they need the appearance of an election. Okay? If they didn't need this, if you were apathetic enough, they'd just select people and put them in office. Okay? Now, in fine, if you're watching this and say you're in Britain, right, or you're in Canada, or you're in Australia or New Zealand, or really in Western Europe, and you can understand me, just replace the local either right-wing party or coalition of right-wing parties, some of them, and you'll notice there's not much difference, right? They're usually immensely servile to one particular foreign country. They're immensely servile to the immigration lobby, right? Because they want cheap labor too. And they hate the idea of what they call populist uprisings, nationalism. They hate nationalism. The Conservative Party in the UK is a prima donna example of this. They're right up to here and blowing Israel, okay? They have absolutely no care for white British workers at all, right? And they want the maximum number of diversity to come so they can run the wages down on everyone. Now, I don't know, do you consider the people like this to have values? Because these are the values of street prostitutes. These are the values of pimps, liars, thieves, and other trash. In fact, having been to prison, I can tell you honestly that murderers and gangsters in prison have a higher level of moral, ethical value than these politician scum. They at least keep their word. With that, you all have a nice day. We hope you're well. Try to get out and enjoy it. Goodbye.